Okay, and we'll press on with the book reviews, and it is, of course, Star Wars still. I think looking at my reading pile after this one I'm going to do now, we'll probably look at Timothy Zahn's trilogy. That is to say, the Empire trilogy, and I'm trying to think. We'll leave it there afterwards, because by that point I'll be almost done with my Star Wars books, and onto what some people consider serious fare. Now, as I said in the previous video, back in the 90s I was buying a lot of Star Wars books, or rather my parents were, and they were $4.99 back in those days. Now £10 more or less for any Star Wars book. You can't even get them, the Legends books second hand off Amazon for anything less than a £5 as a rip-off. And you throw in post and packaging, it's almost £7-8, so you may as well buy the book new. One of the books that I got, I mean, my mum got me the Empire trilogy because I did the reading side of Star Wars, my brother did the toys, and I always loved the X-Wing fighter next to the Viper from the original Galactica. It's the best thing going. I mean, the Viper has its detractors, and if it had had the budget, it would have looked better, I think. But thanks to my liking of the X-Wing books, X-Wing fighters anyway, I got the first one. Let's have a look at the publishing date. 1996. X-Wing Rogue Squadron is the first in what is now a 10-book series, and it's written by Michael A. Stackpole. I'm going to try and put the image in the corner. Now that I've got the pro version of this movie maker, I should be able to put more than one image up. It's like Shadows of the Empire, sort of a net result of multimedia platform. There was a series of games, PC games I think they were, that I never played sadly, in the early 90s, called X-Wing, and so this was a tie-in to it. But it was also notable for being about an entirely fresh set of characters, apart from Reg Antilles, who you see briefly in each film, and briefer still in episode 9. I'm willing to bet Dennis Lawson was on set for less than an hour. It was a rather brave punt, really. I mean, Luke Skywalker, Han, Leia, Chewbacca were what drove the series, and that's what made Shadows of the Empire good. But the X-Wing books, the chief characters are a fella called Corran from the planet Corellia, where everyone is from, like Han, Reg, and half of the Star Wars galaxy. He used to work for something called Corellian Security, or Corsec, and his X-Wing is green. Now the cover, you can't really see it because I've black and white the image. Star X-Wings usually have a red strip, Rogue Squadron, and Corran's X-Wing has a green strip. I'm assuming that's Corran's X-Wing. Actually, no, there's more than one. But in the comics, the comics I've seen, the entire X-Wing he flies is painted green. It's not just a battleship. The book is intriguing for introducing a whole bunch of characters, as I say, fresh, and then such is the way the expanded universe grew by the time it was decanonised. Characters like Gavin Darklighter, San Isard and the like had entered the Star Wars fabric, especially San Isard, who is the de facto head of what's left of the Empire, because this book starts about 2-3 years after Return of the Jedi. And she is the daughter of a man who used to work for Emperor Palpatine around about the time that the Empire was formed, and there's a story, a suggestion she killed her own father to elevate it, and that she was even a lover of Emperor Palpatine. And she wears a red uniform as opposed to the regular grey, and she has, I think it's a white streak in her hair and different coloured eyes, and she's the devil incarnate. I always pictured her as blonde for some reason, but in the comics anyway, she's got dark hair, black hair, and so she's the nemesis of Rogue Squadron. And the books go on from Rogue Squadron to take part in the liberation of Coruscant, which, when the Heir to the Empire trilogy came out, it's set 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and Coruscant is now the home of the New Republic, as it was, of course, with the Old Republic. But Rogue Squadron, the X-Wing books sort of go between 2 years after Jedi, all the way out to 35 if you include the 10th X-Wing book. Stackpole wrote the first 4, which is Rogue Squadron, Regis Gamble, the Krytos trap, the Battle War. Then a chap called the late Alan Alston came in. In a way, revamped it. Book 5 is called Wraith Squadron. The rogues are elsewhere, so you get a fresh set of characters. Reg stays, and then you get Wes Jansen in, who's Reg's gunner in the Battle of Hoth. And the character, there's a great deal more humour. The character, Reg, feels entirely different than the Stackpole books. And then you got the idea of Wraith Squadron is that though they fly X-Wings, they're sort of commandos. They're sort of like a Rogue One type thing in the years before it. Alston wrote Wraith Squadron, Iron Fist, Solo Command, and then did the 9th book, the Starfighters of Adumar, and then he did the 10th book, Mercy Kill, just before he died. The 8th book was written by Stackpole, Isard's Revenge, which, I mean, it's incredible really how they all tie in. Like, forget books 3 and 4. 5 and 6 are dealing with the threat of Warlord Singe, who has a super star destroyer, the Iron Fist. The first time you ever heard about that was a couple of years before the books, in the courtship of Princess Leia, where the Iron Fist, spoiler alert, is ultimately destroyed. And I like super star destroyers. They're my favourite starship in the Star Wars galaxy because they're just incredible. And then I was intrigued by the fact that, despite what you'd think, by the time the Empire's fallen, there's about a dozen of these things. And the X-Wing books have one buried underneath Coruscant's surface, the Lysankia, which doubles up as a high-security prison, and it blasts its way out when Isard escapes at the end of the Krytos trap. And then ultimately, and this is perk of the books, is captured, of course, by the New Republic in Book 4, and lasts all the way into the New Jedi Order books. And so Iron Fist is them trying to take it on. I think Solo Command was dealing with it as well. And then Book 8 starts during one of the star battles in, I think it's the Last Command maybe. So it all ties in, whereas Book 9 is sort of out on its own, and I've not read any of the the book set 30-40 years after, so I don't know where Mercy King is, and it's the only X-Wing book I've not read. I don't have a copy at the moment. So they're all rather good, and it's a fighter. It's got space battles galore. It's almost like reading a computer game, and it's about a squadron. Hence why when I heard the new, as it was back around 2015, spin-off Rogue One gave me this idea, and apparently others, because if you Google Rogue One posters, a lot of them involve just X-Wings. I thought, yeah, I wouldn't mind a film set around an X-Wing squadron, and as it is in a way, we did. Blue Squadron, who was annihilated at Scarif, which tidily tied into A New Hope, explaining why there was only 12 X-Wings and 4 whatever amount of Y-Wings. So if you like Star Wars in any shape or form, check it out. Now, before I go, because I've been uploading a James Bond review video now since I woke up at 11, and it's still only 43% in because it's 50 minutes long. So, as I said in the previous one, you get all the you get the current books on the first page and the excerpts at the rear, compared to the later books after, say, 2000, 2005, when they put the timeline more or less, which, you know, they should have done from the beginning, because that's what they've done with the new Star Wars books, the Disney books, you know, the timeline as I showed you, and it looked a bit weird to begin with. Hopefully in a couple of years' time we'd have, I don't know, I just want Prince Caesar back. I want Shadows of the Empire can be rewritten, should be rewritten, but the difference is, compared to the Shadows inside cover, is that you've got cover images there. So the Empire trilogy, the Jedi Academy trilogy, and then the Corellia trilogy, where you go back to Han's home world, and then you've got the Truce of Bakura, which is set literally the week Return of the Jedi ends, Courtship of Princess Leia, which is quite funny in its way, and they get married at the end, spoiler alert, and the Crystal Star, which is set about 10 years after Return of the Jedi. And the incredible thing is that Crystal Star is written by Fonda N. McIntyre, who I know chiefly for the Star Trek 2, 3 and 4 novelizations, and I think she wrote 1 or 2 other Star Trek books, and she seems to have faded into nothing now. And also, to date the book, at the rear you get the re-release, the fresh VHS films, copies of the films, and my late mate Mark had them, and I was going through a Star Wars craze in the late 90s, and I offered to buy them, but they came from his late uncle, so you know, I know my limits. I'm not a total arsehole. So that's Rogue Squadron. It will probably take me maybe the next week to read the 9 books. Oh, actually no, I'm not doing the 9 books in order, because I've put my books in chronological order, even though, you know, all book 1 are set in the old timeline, and I've read Twilight Company, which is in the new timeline. My X-Wing books cease at a certain point, so I think I'm doing books 2 to 4, no, 2 to, we'll say 2 to 7, then I read the Empire trilogy, book 8 of X-Wing, and then I do the Jedi Academy trilogy, as well as Michael A. Stackpole's I, Jedi, because Corran Horn, believe it or not, is a Force-sensitive chap. And then I do book 9. What I forgot to mention, by the way, before I go, is that the X-Wing books, I believe, were the first to include, I always get it, they include a dramatis personae, you know, where the basically what the characters are and do. So you've got Reg Antilles, and he's a human male from Corellia, for example. Sorry, you can tell these videos are done on a flipping whim, can't you? Yeah, so check out SOS if you can. Sadly, I don't think we're going to get X-Wing film or series, and indeed the Star Wars universe is in a state of flux. I've been going through the saga because I was getting ready to watch episode 9. I now prefer the prequels over the Disney trilogy. I don't know. Maybe it's because I watched the new trilogy in my 30s, and I'm older than I was, say, when I watched the original trilogy for the first time, and older than I was when I watched the prequels. I mean, I went to see Phantom Menace on my birthday in 1999, so I was literally turning 14 that day. But the Disney trilogy, I think, was a missed opportunity as far as Luke was concerned, especially, and it wasn't helped, of course, by poor old Carrie Fisher dying. Alright, they were trying to do it like the original trilogy, like you have older established cast members, and it's the young unknown types that do the heavy lifting. But Luke, I don't think, should have died in episode 8. I think hindsight is a wonderful thing. I think J.J. Abrams should have directed the whole damn trilogy for sake of continuity, and in that way slapping the Emperor as we feel at the end of episode 8, and people will have to wait 3 years to find out what Darth Sidious is up to and how he came to live. I want to see I'm excited about the Kenobi series. It's a shame it's not a film, but in the way I guess the TV series is going to have more of an opportunity to explore Obi-Wan in exile. I'm hoping, and no one said anything to let me know for or against it, that we get, like, as a B story, or at least hints of it, Vader, because both of them have to deal with a lot of shit after Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan's had all his mates murdered, and the Jedi Order that's lasted thousands of years end in a night, and Vader has lost it. It's become, it's turned to the dark side. His wife is dead. He's got a son, as far as he knows, just a son that he will likely never see, possibly. Doesn't know the name of initially, and he's got to deal with the suit and everything. Also, it means Darth Sidious is back. I mean, Emperor Palpatine was the best thing in Revenge of the Sith. I think McDermott deep down knew that the script was a bit dodgy and just went hell for leather. Full ham. A Shatner grade of 3, perhaps. So anyway, that's your fix. See you later.